Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make improvements in your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon, presented by 17 Hats. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. If you have ever forgotten about a job, or left the back of your U-Haul open, or been robbed during an install, you are going to relate to today's episode. My friend Rachel from Evansville Balloon Company and I are talking about nightmare installations and things that go wrong because they are inevitable. If you haven't experienced something like the stories we're about to share, it's only a matter of time before you will. And more importantly, in today's episode, we're talking about how you handle those situations and move on from disaster. So stay tuned. This is a really fun, funny, entertaining episode, if I do say so myself. Thank you to Rachel for being here to be really honest and open about some of these situations. We laugh all the way through this episode. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Let's take a quick break and head over to the U-Glue hotline for some great advice that sticks, and then get into this episode with Rachel from Evansville Balloon Company. Welcome to the U-Glue hotline, where we discuss great advice that sticks, brought to you by Pro Tapes. Pro Tapes is a leading manufacturer of specialty tape products like Pro Artist, Pro Gaff, and our favorite balloon tape, U-Glue, which helps you create amazing balloon arrangements and decorations. If you have a tip, send me a DM on Instagram at The Bright Balloon. Today's tip is courtesy of Misty, the owner of Balloons by Misty, and she has a great inventory tip that I learned from her years ago at Balloon Boss Summit. Instead of tracking with a spreadsheet or an app, she simply reorders balloons based on the empty bags of balloons that she has. So when she uses a bag of black balloons, that empty bag goes in a bin to be reordered. That way she can sit down at a desk, at a computer, and simply go through bag by bag and replenish whatever she's out of. Great tip from Misty. Thank you so much for sharing. Welcome, Rachel. We are talking about all the things today. Mistakes, screw-ups, robberies. Rachel,
Oh, yes.
I'm so excited to have you on. I'll say it in the intro, but I'll say it again that Rachel's one of my best friends, and we talk, definitely not on the podcast. We talk all the time about all the things. So I have gotten a little preview of all the hilarity that is going to ensue, because we're talking about things that go wrong on the job and then what you can do to kind of recover from those situations, because
Yeah,
it's inevitable. Like, things I'm already
it's gonna
laughing.
happen.
It's gonna happen, and there's no way to predict the insanity of some of these situations that you're going to run into. So before we jump in, give us an introduction of who you are, where you are, and just a little bit about the setup of your business.
My name is Rachel King. I'm from Evansville, Indiana. We're at the very southern tip of Indiana. I have been in business for roughly 6.5 years. I am a home-based business and um, do all the things. I probably do 50% corporate, just as much as residential parties. And yeah,
And
that's a
you
little.
work full time. You have like a full-time job.
I do. I still work full time. I love the employer that I work for, and it's got great benefits, and I just don't feel like I can let those go, so I don't. I
Yeah.
make the business work for me, and it's worked out really well.
I always say you are where I was like 5 years ago. I had no intention of ever leaving my job because I was double dipping so hard. I had all
Right.
the benefits. I had all the flexibility for on both sides. I had flexibility at my day job. It was a career that I had focused on. It was education, and a lot of my identity was kind of wrapped up there. And
Yeah.
then it got really toxic really quick. So I think you are in such a sweet spot, but it's nice that if something changes, you have
Yeah.
like a full-time job to fall back on. Most people don't have that.
For sure. I feel like you hear more and more of people just genuinely not liking their employer or their situation they're in. So it's such an easier transition to leave that
Right.
environment. I'm just not there. So I have made the balloon company work for me, and it's really helped me get further in life as far as financial and the goals I want. So it works for me and my family, and that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and this isn't going to be kind of the bulk of this episode, but are there a couple tips you have for people listening who are kind of still living in that juggle, that back and forth? Do you have any boundaries or anything that you've put in place so that you can manage both? Or are you just kind of putting jobs where you have openings? Like what do you how do you juggle that?
Yeah, it is stressful. So first you absolutely need a CRM, and you need the CRM to work for you to help, take that load off and schedule. I'm not the best at time management, but you absolutely need to be aware of that so that, one thing isn't struggling more than the other, and have to understand that you do still work. And if that's still important to you, some decisions have to be made on what you can and can't take. But for me, a lot of times if clients have said, like, all of my setups work around what I needed to work around. I don't necessarily let the client tell me, unless it's a very large corporate and I work it in, take vacation. My position is very flexible. So I'm very lucky in that sense. But it's like, no, I'm booked. My only available delivery time is this time in the morning or this time in the evening. And they're like, oh, okay. And they choose one of the times.
Yeah.
So it's really just time management, setting the boundaries and understanding, like, if you're just tapped out, you don't need to take all the things,
Yeah.
you can let yourself off the hook a little bit.
I actually felt like I had better boundaries when I worked full time
Right.
because you couldn't break them. It was like if I have to
Right.
be at work, I can't just like not show up. So those were like
Mhm.
set in stone versus now I have these wishy-washy boundaries and I feel like I'm way more likely to break them because they just
Yeah,
inconvenience me. They're not like actually inconveniencing my other job. But I think it's hard no matter the situation to kind of set those
I
boundaries. And like
agree.
you said,
I agree.
these huge jobs come up and you're like, well, I'm gonna figure out how to make this work because it's a
Yeah, for
$5,000
sure.
job.
And it takes, I didn't have the boundaries in the beginning for sure. And I think it comes with just the more confidence you have in the business and longer you're doing it, you're more comfortable setting those. And you're like, listen, like, this is just what it is. If it works for you, great. And if it doesn't, I'm not your lady. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
Yeah. And okay, I'm not going to ask you to share your numbers, but I am going to share that like Rachel's running a pretty large company. You're
Mhm.
not bringing in like a little extra, $10,000 on the side. Like you're matching what a lot of full-timers are doing in sales. So kudos to you. You should give yourself a
Thank
lot of credit.
you.
In addition to your quote unquote real job, your day job. So
I know
you
the
are
real job.
juggling, yeah, you're juggling a lot. And I think
Yes.
one of the downfalls that I didn't really know was a downfall when I was still working was like the evening inflation. And I don't think because I know we talk when you're inflating and it's a
Yes.
lot of nighttime, right?
Yes, it is. But I also feel like I I do for the most part sell a lot of the same things. I think it would be more stressful if I was selling all things and everything, and then I'm having to like figure out and take the extra time to perfect something or have more design in it, so to
Right.
speak. Whereas a lot of these things I do often.
Like a
So
column's not going to stress you out because you have to bang out
yeah,
four of them on a
yeah,
Wednesday night, right?
yes. And again, the time management, booking the orders, inflating those early, looking at your schedule, and not being scared to ask for help when you need it. Along most of the time I do it by myself, but I have a 15-year-old daughter now who likes nice things, so she gets to come and work. You know what I
Nice.
mean?
Yeah.
But
Cool. All right. Well, now that you just set yourself up to say how smoothly everything goes all the
oh yeah.
time,
Woof. Oh
let's
man.
talk about when
Real life.
everything falls apart, real life, right? Even the best laid plans, things are going to go terribly wrong. So,
Yeah.
kick us off. Where are we going to start? Let's just talk about like a screw up you've made, and then we'll talk about more screw ups that we've both made.
Good. Okay, so my largest one that I recovered from, but it's just a full experience. But anyway, so my husband and I decided to take a cruise last fall. Um, Prior to the cruise, like, I thought I had all my T's crossed, I's dotted. I had corporate jobs while we were gone. I had already planned the logistics, the materials, everything was like a laid out plan. All of those went according. I got back from the cruise feeling like a queen. I was like, this is amazing. I've only got one job on that following Saturday when I returned to do. And I remember telling you guys on Marco Polo, I was like, I'm so refreshed. I'm going to drop off this one delivery and then I'm going to go watch my nephew play football. 9 a.m. I drop this delivery off and I'm pulling out of the driveway and like my phone dings. Still very confident. I pick it up like, oh, who is it messaging me? And it's a client. And she's like, what time are you going to be at the venue? And I was like, literal time of death, 9:15 a.m. I was like, I world stopped spinning. I could not believe what I was seeing. I was like, oh no. So I did what any balloon artist does, and I respond and say, see you there at 12. Like, it's like, oh my gosh. So I remember Marco Poloing, you guys, like, I cannot believe I just forgot this job. Oh my gosh. Thank goodness I did have a couple hours to figure it out. But then I go into 17 hats and I'm like, what did I sell? Like, I don't, like, I thought I had everything so laid out.
Did you just like not see it? Like what? Do you know what
No,
happened?
I didn't have like the correct workflows in order. So like if somebody paid, it didn't like flip my calendar to another color.
Okay.
I also didn't have like a confirmation at that time getting sent out 7 days prior.
Hmm.
Whereas if I had, and they hopefully would have responded and said, yes, we're still on, I would have been in like Mexico, but I would have realized, oh my gosh, I have this job that I completely forgot about as soon as I get home. None of those things happened. So I open up 17 hats, look at the order, and I sold everything I don't stock. I was
Oh,
like, no.
with like weird colors or something.
Bronze
Yeah.
that like
That
one
you can't
distributed
even like
one
double
time.
stuff. Yeah, you can't even make
No.
that.
So we were running around. I was running around trying to figure out any way to like make these colors. I was talking to you guys. We were like, how can we come up with bronze? And I was running to a party store. I was running to a Hobby Lobby, like, what are we gonna do? Like a paint and this and that. And I figured out how to double stuff enough colors to come up with a bronze enough shade where I didn't feel like I was completely embarrassed showing up with. So I like rage inflated, got everything done, and got to this venue. And I was like, I don't think, like, I didn't present this way in front of the client, but I was like in distress. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the worst ever. And I show up, but that's the most important part. Like, I still showed up. Like, I didn't just say,
Hmm.
sorry, I don't have any of the things that you ordered. We just kind of figured it out and pivoted. So the bubbles I had sold them, I didn't have it. So I upgraded them to jumbos. And I'm like, hey, I got, this morning I started inflating. These weren't giving the look that I thought they needed to, so I upgraded you to this. And like there were no questions asked.
Yeah.
And the arch, there were no questions asked. Like it really wasn't something I would have typically brought into a party, but the client was happy because I was on time. I showed up. They had no idea that I had like just tried to list my business for sale like an hour ago because I was mortified that I had forgotten this event. So, such a learning lesson. You guys were panicking
We
for
were
me.
all stressed out. And if you guys are listening and you don't know what Marco Polo is, that's how our little group
Oh,
communicates.
yes.
It's the best. It's like if FaceTime and texting had a baby. So you're leaving little video messages, but then you can watch them whenever you have time. So we're always on it because there's five of us and we're all over the country and we're always delivering. So we're in our
Yeah.
cars. Um, but man, we were helping you put out that fire and it was a nightmare. But like, I think what you said is so important. And you are so good at like choosing your words and calmly responding to people. So I like you said you still showed up. I like that you said you upgraded them. Like they don't know. They don't know if it's an
You don't
upgrade or a
know.
downgrade, you know?
They gave me a hug, and then I was like, have a nice day. I'll see myself out. Don't ever go again. Like I was mortified, but it just really like opened my eyes into because I had never experienced that. Like
Yeah.
6 months of business, like it was bound to happen.
Hmm.
Things are going to happen. I had just been very fortunate up until that point that that hadn't been the case, but it really made me take a deeper look into how my 17 hats was set up because had, you know, I had those things put in place, it, there was opportunity to catch a mistake.
Right, right.
And so it was a learning lesson for sure.
I had I had almost the same thing, but I did not show up. I was on my way back from a cruise as well, and
Those cruises, man.
I had an email go out automatically, and it was like, "We'll see you tomorrow for your event." And she was like, she messaged me, and she was like, "The event is right now. Like, it's starting in an hour. Are you almost here?" And I was like, "Ma'am, I am in an airplane flying across the country. Like, there was no way to get the balloons, and it
I could not
sucked."
be further away from you right now.
It was just, it almost made it better because it was just physically impossible. Like there was no scrambling, there was no figuring it out. It was like,
Right.
this cannot happen. And luckily, it was like a ladies' night at a country club on like a Thursday night. I still felt really bad. And she understood what had happened is that I actually abandoned my 17 hat system, which I have all of those emails and reminders set up,
Hmm.
which it went out like it was supposed to and it confirmed the quote unquote correct day. What I
Hmm.
had done was in an email, I had responded and I was sloppy and I was like, "Yep, see you on the 21st," because I had just seen in the email somewhere the 21st and I confirmed. And I should never do that. It's like let your system confirm for you because then if you have the wrong date on your calendar, it's going to send that wrong date out and they're going to catch it. So it was too late. I didn't show up and fast forward years later, she still hires me. I did her daughter's birthday for
Hmm.
free that following year, and she tipped
Right.
me like $100. Um, and this
So,
year she booked me for a school fundraiser. So it's like, yeah,
yeah.
water under the bridge, even though I can't believe she ever hired me again. But it was a nightmare.
Well, yeah. And in that moment, it's like all you can do is be accountable and be like, I made a mistake. Like,
Yeah.
I am so sorry. But also, had this happened like in the beginning of when I started this business, I would have been in tears
Yeah.
for sure.
I would have
And
quit.
now I'm just like, well, I was still trying to sell my business, but I'm like, "Come on." But I overall, like, I didn't stress about it for days and days after. I was just like,
Yes.
okay, what if they're not happy? What's the absolute worst thing that can happen to me? They leave a bad review and I have to refund their money. No, that's not ideal, but okay. Like
Right. Right. We're not
that
brain
stinks,
surgeons. It's
but
not like, oh, I had a bad day and killed three people. It's just like
exactly.
it's I
So
don't want to simplify what we do, but I have definitely,
it's just balloons.
yeah, I've gotten better at coming around to like, okay, well, there's like a human element, which means there's going to be mistakes. Like it's a
Right. Get your
hundred
sets and
percent
praise.
guaranteed. And it's hard.
Absolutely.
We juggle so much. Um, and like we said, some of the things, it's like it's not even your fault. It's like freak accidents that happen and you can't
Right.
predict.
Yep.
Let's take a quick break and then talk about more of those events. You've had quite a
Yes.
few recently.
Oh, yes.
And most importantly, how you come back from that and how you can recover. This episode is brought to you in part by Having a Party Wholesale, your one-stop shop for professional balloon supplies. Some of my summer favorites include iridescent Brookloon foils, flanges that I use to make my own base plates, and did you know they even sell dog toys made from recycled balloons? How cute is that? Having a Party has everything you need to keep creating. Their fast shipping, great prices, and customer-first service make them my go-to supplier. Head to haveinaparty.com and use promo code podcast at checkout. All right, welcome back. So I love that we're kind of normalizing this. I think it's funny, not because we don't care about what we do, but because you're going to make a mistake. And I feel like when
Yeah.
people don't ever admit that, then you feel like the dum dum when you do make the mistake. And
Or
I've done,
they feel so ashamed, and it's like there's no reason to be ashamed. Like things happen. Like have a moment, yes, have a moment, but then be like, it's just life. Like
yeah,
you have to move on and not dwell on it, you know?
absolutely, absolutely. And some of the things like we talked about, we both had like glitches in our system or errors that we made like on the front end and missed a date. What other things have happened that have gone wrong that are maybe more like on the job issues?
So I had booked my first five-figure job that required tons of like 20-foot bases with poles to be made, like sturdy thing. The things needed to be sturdy. Okay. So I asked my husband to make me these bases. We have done these for years, never had an issue. Well, he went and bought a different bolt. No, he bought a screw. He didn't buy a bolt. He bought a screw and he like screwed from the top down instead of the bottom up. And once I started building these giant sculptures, like I realized all the bases were breaking. And I was like, what is happening? Right. Like, is this real life? I don't even know what's going on. And I, luckily, we still had a lot of time that entire day to figure it out and pivot. And you just feel like this rush of anxiety through your body because you're like, this is the biggest job I've ever had. And everything's
Yeah,
breaking
and I don't know how to make a base.
in real time. So, yeah, like the core thing, like, did I just start doing balloons? Like, this is a base, it's not hard. So, we had to run, get different bolts. I said, oh, we'll be back in an hour. Forgot something at the shop. Like, I forgot all the right bolts. Thanks, Charles. So, we had to like make these bases on site, which was fine. But in that moment, like I feel like on a job that big and a surrounding, if you're not like calm, and people would have seen me being frantic, crying, like barking orders at my staff because things aren't going right for me, they would have instantly known like
Something's up.
she's made a huge mistake.
Yeah.
They did. I was just like, see you in a little bit. And then,
Yeah.
figured it out. So yeah, don't make bases like that. Don't check your husband's work.
Shout
Don't,
out to Charles.
or don't ever make the bases like that.
Poor
It,
Charles works for free and then we publicly ridicule him on the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, because like the jumbos at the bottom, what it was is I think they would have been okay, but the thing was is I was using 36-inch, a 5-pack of them, and the tension was so
The
much,
pressure.
the pressure, that it ripped those screws right out of that thing.
Oh, you were
And I
doing
think
huge Christmas trees?
massive
Yeah.
Christmas trees. And he didn't, I'm sure he probably built those for me before that I had left behind and never had an issue.
Hmm.
But that day there was an issue and it happened to be on the biggest job at that point that I had booked. And then I was like, okay, that's a learning moment. And then when I did the job the previous year, we didn't have those issues
Yeah.
because we didn't build the bases like that. So it's just all how you handle it and you look at it.
Yeah.
It really is a
I've
learning moment.
done I've done all those things that you said you shouldn't do. Like I have cried in front of a client. In my defense, I was pregnant and I didn't know it. So
Right,
that might have had
right.
something to do with it. But looking back, I was like in a cherry picker and I was crying. I was hanging those huge
Oh,
silver balls
oh yes, I remember
with
that.
like fringe around. Like we couldn't get the fringe things to like
They're
balance.
heavy.
They're heavy and and then the client, which he had every right to because it was a $15,000 job, he was like,
Right.
can you like hang them a little lower? And like we had just gotten them up and it was just like, oh, the hours and just stress of that just like broke me. But again, like they it doesn't help, you know? I should have been like,
Yeah.
no, I can't. Or like, yep, it's just gonna take a while. But instead I think I totally let my lack of energy and my frustration like show and
Oh.
they can tell or then I could tell I've improved because this year I got to a job and I don't know what I was thinking. I like proudly walked in with these columns and she was like, oh, they're supposed to be four, right? And I was like, oh, are there? Oops, let me run back to the shop and get those. And I totally forgot them. And I like cracked up and drove home and like frantically made two more columns and showed up like, here they are. I just accidentally forgot to bring half your order. And like, it was totally fine.
Well, and they're probably so impressed because, like, if you were to forget, people don't realize how quick you can bust out a column.
Right.
If they order like, it's like, wait, you just made that and
You
came
just like
back?
made
They're
those.
like,
Right. But I think that goes
Yeah.
back to what you said in the beginning too. Some of that is having those materials in stock and kind of keeping your regular colors and selling the same things over and over, because to make a column in an emergency is a lot easier than making some custom sculpture that you
Yes.
never ever offer.
Keep a color chart, which at that time I was kind of wish-washy on because there's so many, manufacturers and you don't know what to stock and things go out of stock. And but regardless, like you have to find something or switch out as you need to, and sticking to that color chart and people picking off of it versus you trying to piecemeal together colors. It's just like this is what we have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I have to redo my color chart. It's right here. I'm gonna redo it today because I've gotten recently so many requests for like a burgundy, which I never did. And everyone was always freaking out, like, there's no good burgundy or there's no, and I was like, I don't, who cares? I never get this color request. And all of a sudden I'm getting it all the time. And I know that I'm gonna forget. I know I'm gonna like custom or forget to do that custom order and just I'm gonna put myself in a bad situation. So I'm just gonna add it to my color chart and make it available to people, instead of always having to have a couple bags
that
of
darn
burgundy
burgundy,
on stand.
man.
Yeah, yeah. More and more
And
it's popular.
navy, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Navy's a struggle sometimes too. It's either
Yep.
black or
I've had more Navy requests this year than I have in my entire life. I don't know what's
I
going
know
on.
it's the same. I don't know.
Every other job
No.
is Navy, but and they're
Yeah.
all outside in direct sun. I'm like, oh, kill me. This is the worst. But have you ever had just other goofy things, maybe things that we can relate to, or maybe not?
Um, of course I have. So, U-Hauls. I have left the back of a U-Haul door open thrice times. Like, so the first time I did it, I was rushing to a softball tournament, and I don't know what it is about. I'm like, Are you sure I really didn't close this? And like, I just didn't latch it all the way. Like, what is it?" So I was on my way to a softball tournament, and Hayden went with me to help me deliver. And I remember this guy like doing everything he could to get my attention, and I was actively trying to not see him. Like, I was like, "Why are you so obsessed with me? Leave me alone. I'm trying to get to this job. We're running late." And then he wouldn't stop. So I looked over and I'm like, "Yes." He's like, the back of your truck's open." And I was like going 50 down the highway and had just stopped at a at a stoplight. And I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "The back door's open." I flew out of that truck door, ran to the back, and I had these weights, thank goodness, blocking this arch. And I don't know, just the universe was looking out for me that day. Nothing flew out of that truck
Mm,
that was like critical because I didn't remember needing anything once I got there. So if something did fall out, it clearly didn't
wasn't important.
register.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't important. But I've done that. I had, oh my gosh, you guys, I had like a 12-hour long day of installs. Like, I'm talking the days where you get back to like drop off a U-Haul. We're talking like 20-foot U-Haul days, just back to back. And like all you can do is like laugh like Tom Hanks in the Money Pit because you're so exhausted. Just you're like, I can't even cry. I'm so exhausted. And I remember talking to a friend on the phone. I'm like, "I'm done. That was my last delivery." I get out of the U-Haul and I see those big green bags that I use flying down the highway in front of me with balloons in it that I didn't use. And I was like, this is going to fly on somebody's windshield and there's going to be like a huge accident. I ran in the rain down the highway to get these balloons. I don't run. So, like, that was a whole incident. Um, yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know why U-Hauls don't let you know that the door's open like every other car on the
Exactly.
market.
Cars can tell you if it's like the temperature or if there's a shadow behind you. They can give you a
Yeah,
360 view. Why do U-Hauls not tell you like, hey, the
It's a cruel
Only
job.
door that can't be opened is open. Like, why isn't there a notification light on that?
I don't know. And we've talked in our group and stuff, and like all of us have done it.
And
Like
it's dangerous. I
all of
don't know
it.
how there's not a notification.
It's so dangerous.
I left it
All of
open and
us.
I had a 10-foot ladder in there. And I was
I
like, what if
know.
that had
I know.
fallen out on the road? It's always like after the job. I feel like my adrenaline is pumping and I'm like, yes, everything went right.
Yeah.
And then I just like peel out with my U-Haul open and balloons go flying down the road. And then on that same job that I left my U-Haul open and balloons did fly out, I went to fill it up with gas and I pulled in at like a 45-degree angle and lodged the U-Haul up over that like barricade at the gas pump so that you don't run into the gas pump. So the back wheels weren't even touching on the ground. I was just like levitating in the air. It was really bad. It
I
was
mean,
bad.
it
I ended
scares
up,
you.
yeah, someone helped me build a little ramp to get the wheel touching the ground so I could back up off of the barricade. I damaged the truck. I paid in cash so that they didn't like charge me the full amount. Of course, it was the one time in my life I didn't get the insurance on the truck. So
That's, what- that's what I was about to say when I saw that green bag and it was already raining. I'm like, I only took out the safe move. Like, I cannot risk somebody
I
getting
know
like,
I didn't take out the murder clause on the U-Haul.
yeah. And would anybody have known? No, but you just were like, I cannot believe is this real life? Like, there's a bag of balloons flying down the highway.
I know. I know. It's at
Nightmare.
least, I mean,
Nightmare.
those are easier for me to handle because like I can just feel like a moron in private and not see my
Yeah.
client seeing what I'm doing. Um, but but yeah, it's U-Hauls are the worst. They are the worst. They make me so mad.
Mm.
Well, let's end with the grand finale, robbery on the job. Well, we don't know. We don't really know what happened, right? I know the story because obviously you've told me. But let's talk about your latest saga.
Oh,
And I'm going to be honest, guys, we started recording an episode a couple weeks ago, but then this happened and then we decided to re-record because this story couldn't not make the cut. So have at it, Rachel. Tell us about your insane install.
so I booked another very large install, had a couple ladies come help me with it, required multiple trucks, all the things. Again, I'm like, the logistics are down to the T. I'm gonna look nothing but professional, all the things. Had just purchased, okay, just is probably a little dramatic. Like within the last 2 months, 3 months, had purchased one of those Hulkin bags that I had had my eye on. I bought the biggest one. I loved it. I showed it off everywhere. And for this job, because it was such an important client, I had filled this Hulkin bag up with everything from an extra like blower to the Sempertex balloons, all the extra stuff just in case anything went wrong, like it was all down there. Well, we get all of the indoor decor done, get to the outside, and there were like multiple exterior doors that we had to deliver to multiple columns. I'm like, easy peasy, we're gonna be out of here. I killed this. Well, like I'm talking a 2 minute walk max between these two doors. We get in a U-Haul, drop two columns off, get to the next stop, and the U-Haul door was shut. So nothing indicated that like it had been left open.
Yeah.
And I opened the door and there's no Hulken bag. And I'm like, because I needed the blower to put the jumbos on these last couple columns because I do those on site. And I'm like, this is a giant green bag. I'm digging through I'm like, have I lost my mind? Like, where is this? And the girl that was with me working, she said, no, you put it on the truck. And I'm like, right? I know I did. I know I did. Well, it's not there. So I say, you go deliver the columns. I'm going to run 2 blocks back to the front to see if I can find it. I get around to the front. It's not there. Totally gone. I went to security. I'm like, hey, did anybody like leave this giant bag? Because it's got like hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of stuff in it. I didn't say that. but I'm
The
thinking it.
bag itself is like a couple
The
$100s, isn't it?
super text balloons. I
Yeah.
was all the chrome. We all know chrome. Just expensive, right?
Yeah.
And I never take that many balloons with me on site, but I'm like, I'm just going to bring it in case they add anything, charge them. Mistake. Go up to security. We look through the footage, which I was already embarrassed to be like, can you pull up the footage to see if I put this bag on the truck? I did. And as I pulled off, the lady that was going with me that was closing the doors as I was driving, she didn't shut the door. So within like a 2 minute around the block drive, that door had rolled open, the Hulken had flown out, and the door from probably just the bouncing in the road had shut itself back down. So it's in a downtown area where there's, a number of homeless people and unfortunate people, and that's just where it's located. That bag gone.
I
Security
cannot believe
gone.
that.
I'm talking like within a span of like 15 minutes, the whole thing of me running around the building looking for it. I'm like, surely it just fell off and fell on its side. It's
I
a huge
can't believe you didn't.
bag.
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't find it.
One of the people on the corner, 100% swiped me.
Saw it and went and took it.
And I was like, I hope you love all those super text balloons.
They
I
don't
was
know what they've got. They can sell those on the black market.
like, dude, yes. And I, the girl that was with me felt so bad because she's like, somebody stole this bag. And then the employee that was down there, she's like, yeah, there's people that are always walking through here. It's gone. Like somebody got
That's
it. They got it. I mean,
crazy.
it was so fast. So
I'm
I,
surprised. Could they not go back and look at that on the security footage and like
they
wait?
weren't overly like helpful.
Yeah, they were like, we
But
don't
I
care.
mean, I saw she left the door open, it absolutely fell out, and somebody swiped it like immediately.
That's
And I
insane.
was just like, oh, but again, she felt so bad. Like I thought she was on the verge of tears
Oh,
and I was like, what do you do?
right. And
I laughed in disbelief because I was like, I cannot believe because with the bag, the blower, the balloons, I mean, we're talking $500-$600 easy, just gone.
and like to anyone else, all that stuff is worthless. I mean, the bag's probably good for maybe a
Oh
homeless
yeah.
person carry things in. They're gonna
But
look
I'm like,
stylish with your
that
lime green
chic
Hulken.
bag, that chic
Chic.
Hulkin. But I again, it was just kind of like all how you look at the issue, but I didn't get angry, which I was kind of surprised about because I was like, I loved that bag and all the stuff in it, but I was just like, okay, how many times am I gonna let this darn U-Haul door like get the best of me? From now on, there's two people are checking the door. Like if somebody's with me, I'm checking it. The person with me is verifying it. Like it needs to be a two-step process because I
I like close it and I
can't
like
be
rattle the
trusted.
handle and I'm like I have OCD and I'm like, it's locked. I'm hearing it. It's locked. And then when I get in the van, I'm like, yes, I remember doing that.
And like, I don't know. I don't know if it's coming across as chaotic as it was that day for and the ladies on Marco Polo hearing it, but it was like
Well, I just can't
the
believe
most
at least you got
bizarre
the
thing.
satisfaction of knowing what happened. I would think like if you hadn't seen that security camera footage, I would have just been like, where'd it go? We had to have left it somewhere. Like it must be in the building. Like I just the
One of
fact that
the
you saw it fall out and that you left it, like what are the chances the door would close itself?
I know it was just this weird chain of events because one of the employees was in riding with us to each door and she was like, I thought it was in there, but maybe it wasn't. Like it made you think that you were crazy. And she was even going back and checking, and I can't remember what her name is. I think it was Nancy. I was like, Nancy, you were with me the whole entire time. Like we didn't leave it under a stairwell. Like you loaded it with me, but it was such an odd thing because like you said, that door was closed that it made you feel like you were crazy. So then yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
she's
Oh,
gone. She gone. I'm sure I'll be walking downtown one day and I'll see that. that big bag lugging behind somebody. And I'm like, just give me the balloons back. Keep
You
the
can keep the
bag. Just
bag. I
balloons.
want the reflex balloons.
I want the reflex balloons and the blower.
That's so funny. So what are some tips we can leave people with? Because I think my personal tip is it's going to happen. Like,
Yeah,
don't feel bad when you screw up because it's going to happen. Like, it's a rite of passage, if you will. Like, once you've been in
that's exactly
business
how
long
I look
enough,
at
it's
it.
going to happen. So after that, what other tips?
That exactly. That's what I tell people. It's going to happen, and you just can't like completely lose yourself and lose your mind when it does happen. Yeah, it's easier said than done.
Hmm.
Things do get upsetting, but it's like that actually doesn't change anything that's happening or going to happen. Like, so you just have to move on. It's just balloons, they're just things. It stings, but you literally have to look at it as like a learning experience. Like what are we going to do that this does not happen again?
Hmm.
Because like me being at work, if I made a mistake or and I don't have employees 24/7, but when people do work with me, like the last thing I want to do is be barking orders or make them feel like something's like put all the pressure on their shoulders. So I just always try to say, have the leadership mentality. If things go wrong, how do you want to be spoken to? How do you want to be treated? And in those situations, you just have to keep your cool.
Hmm. I think
I hope
moving,
that makes sense. It's
no,
more or
it
less
does.
like take a deep breath. It's just balloons. It's one event. Learn from it and move on.
Yeah, I think the moving on is a huge part too. I think in my
Let it
first,
go.
3, 4 years of business, I would have cried and beat myself up. Like even like
100%.
like getting a bad review, it would have been
Yeah.
life ending. It would have been like,
Yeah.
this is the worst. And now, I mean, luckily I don't have any 1-star reviews, but I think if I did, I'd just be like, oh, that's a bummer. Like that sucks.
Yeah.
And I'd probably be mad about it for like a day. But I have come a long way of like letting these things consume me, or like you get a
Right.
snarky email from someone and it can just destroy you. And now I'm a little bit
Mhm.
better of just being like, well, I can't control that. I got to move on. Like you're always good too. You're like, tomorrow's going to come no matter what, and we'll all be so
Yeah.
stressed out. You're like, well, you can be stressed out and it's going to come and go, or you can be calm and it's going to come and go, and you can't do anything
Whether,
about it.
yeah, tomorrow's going to be here, the day's going to be over, and you just have to keep moving on.
Yeah.
Like, that's my advice for people most of the time is just, it's fine. It's fine. Maybe that's a little delusional, but like, it's okay. Let it go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I love it. Well, thank you for sharing your stories. Let's take our
yes,
final break and
ma'am.
then we'll end with our final 3 questions.
Okay.
Today's episode is presented in part by our newest sponsor, Jamar USA, a brand that believes in the power of balloons to create meaningful moments. From birthdays to brand launches, their high quality, eco friendly balloons help turn simple spaces into something truly special. Made in Italy with care and a commitment to sustainability, Jamar balloons are trusted by professionals around the world for their vibrant colors, durability, and creative versatility. Whether you're planning a big celebration or just want to brighten someone's day, we're here to lift the moment with you. Jamar, lifting the moment. All right, welcome back. Let's end on our final 3. Vacation spot, something you have purchased recently, and a piece of business advice. So, do you have a favorite place to go on vacation?
I've only been once, but I really, really did love the Bahamas.
Hmm. Was
I
that on your
really did.
cruise where you
It
forgot your job?
was. Yeah, where like everything burned down. Yes. But it was, and you know what I liked about it so much? It was the people. Like, forget all the food and the fancy stuff. Like, we're always in such a rush to do things. Americans, like, we're very much like move, 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 move. And I remember being in a restaurant and the overall attitude and culture was like, it's fine, just relax. Like, you're gonna get your food, you're gonna, and I was watching it with everybody. It wasn't just with me. And it was like they have such a way of relaxing and not
Mm,
letting the little stuff bother them that it kind of changed my mindset. I'm like, oh, why do we do this? So
nice.
it was
Nice.
nice.
All right, favorite thing you have purchased recently?
I would have said the Hulkenberg. She's gone. I
All
want to
right.
go with my beats. I love my
R.I.P.
pro beats.
Are those okay? You have Beats, and I know you wear those all the time. They're like the big headphones.
Yes, they're the pros. They're the noise cancellation ones, and I love them while I'm inflating and stuff. I just love them.
Did you ever use just like earbuds?
I did, and they were okay, but I tend to misplace things, and I was
That's what I was
always
gonna say.
confused with them.
I'm constantly losing mine, and they're constantly running out of batteries because then I'll lose one and it's not charged, and so I'm looking at upgrading. So Beats noise canceling
And
headphones.
I was my poor husband. I used to make fun of him. I'm like, nobody wants those big headphones. Like, I would never wear those.
Right.
I got them, and I'm like, these are pretty good.
Yeah. Cool.
I'll take
Cool.
back everything I said.
Cool. And last question, which you've already kind of hit on, but a small piece of business advice for people listening.
Bill Gates said something. It was like your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning.
Ah,
And it's kind of like, even if they're unhappy, it could be anything from your a customer service perspective to maybe a boundary you need to set. Like some people you can't always make happy, but it's still a source of learning, and maybe it's a boundary you need to set with people so
I love
that you
that.
get to that point. So
I
that's
love
my
that. Well,
yeah.
thank you, friend, for coming on and
Yes,
for
ma'am.
sharing. I'm sure people are chuckling along as they listen.
Oh boy.
If you have horror stories, text them to me. Like send me a DM if you're listening and you're like, you're not gonna believe this. Send them and maybe we'll put together an episode of like on the job nightmares because we've all got them.
I know I've got more. Yeah, those are just some of the ones that the biggest ones, the core memory ones for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna
Phone
keep remembering
calls.
more all day, I'm sure.
Mm,
Well, thank you for coming on. Where can people find you if
absolutely.
they want to check out your business and your beautiful work?
It is Evansville Balloon Company, Facebook or Instagram. It's the same handle, just Evansville Balloon Company.
Very cool. And you can go
Yeah.
check out some of her ginormous Christmas trees and other installs we talked about. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bright Balloon Podcast presented by 17 Hats, my go-to system for booking, billing, and managing my balloon business with ease. If you're ready for more mindset shifts, mini trainings, and strategies to help you grow a profitable, sustainable business, join me on the Bright Side, my private podcast feed just for decorators who want more ease, more income, and more insight behind the scenes of my balloon business. It's just $5 a month, and you can sign up right now in the show notes wherever you're listening. I'll see you on the bright side.